Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners Committee of the Whole meeting, January 13th, 2016. Could I have roll call, please?
We have 10 present, 1 presiding, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Colleen. I'll let the record show that John Sorch is absent this evening. And now would you join us with the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer with Commissioner Henderson?
Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which will greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bowl. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dennis. Report of the chair. Just briefly want to mention that we are going to be interviewing some folks on Friday for a replacement for our secretary, who we miss dearly, but she's got a great job, and I just wish her the best. And I want to personally thank Colleen and Laura with the clerk of recorder's office that have just jumped in and to pinch hit for us, but hopefully we'll give them some relief here in another week or two. Just want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and this is our first committee of the whole meeting of the year. This meeting is our work, I call it our working meeting. We have a regular meeting before committee of the whole, and that's where our new action items come in, and then things that aren't taken care of that at that time. The committee of the whole is our follow-up meeting, and there's quite a few things on our agenda tonight. So without any further ado, we'll start with section 1, public hearing, communication number 15-558. Lori Casey, Assistant Planning Director, Butte-Silver Bowl Planning Board, Planning Department, requesting a public hearing on January 13th, 2016 for the preliminary plat of the Copper Fox Estates. I would ask for proof of publication from the County Attorney Joyce for all 3 sections. If she would, please. County Attorney Joyce.
Madam Chair, there is proof of publication for section 1 and 3, and they both appear to be in order.
Okay, thank you. That's true. Presentation doesn't require that. Okay, Lori, that's for staff report.
PowerPoint presentation. Madam Chair, this is a public hearing for the Copper Fox development. It's the Copper Fox Estates that amends blocks 1, 2, 3, and 4 of what is currently known as the suburban tracts. On December 10th, the Planning Board held its public hearing, reviewed the staff report that you should all have gotten last week for this public hearing, and found that the subdivision does meet the Subdivision Platting Act and our local subdivision ordinance, so they have recommended approval. So tonight is the public hearing for this section. Just to orientate you, this is an aerial photo. This here is Middle Arc. This is Western Boulevard, Arizona Street, and Electric Street. The 4 blocks that are being amended under this proposed subdivision are outlined in pink. One of the things we look at on a subdivision is the growth policy and the zoning. This subdivision is in compliance with both. The zoning is R3, which is a multifamily zoning. Just on the east side of Arizona Street is a manufactured home zone, and on the west side is the manufactured suburban zone. This is out by south of town, Margaret Larry School. The soccer fields are within this area. These are the blocks that are being amended from the suburban tracts. They were originally platted in 1958. At that time, they were platted with 52 lots. One of the reasons they probably have never been developed is that there is no water or sewer. Back then, it wasn't a requirement when you platted lots to make sure that they had the water and sanitary sewer mains brought in. This is, and I'll just back up 1 minute. As you see On this plat, it was platted with Utah Street and Avon Street. The applicants are in the process of requesting that those streets be vacated for their new plat. This is what their new plat would look like. They're proposing to amend. Again, this is Middle Ark, Arizona Electric, and Western. They are proposing 83 lots for residential development, single family. They all meet or exceed the required zoning. I think the smallest lot's about 8,600 and the largest is around 18,000. They are proposing a new dedicated looped road that would be known as Avon Circle. They would be extending water from north along Western Avenue. They would come down Western Avenue, service this subdivision, and then connect to the water main that is down by the Margaret Larry School to supply a looped water system. Their sanitary sewer, they would extend the main. There is an easement through here through the Jeremy Bullock property. So their sanitary main would come from here to service the subdivision. There is adequate sanitary sewer capacity for the 83 homes. There is also, based on the initial preliminary modeling, there's adequate water service once they create the loop system. Now they've done their preliminary engineering. There is 13 conditions that the planning board has recommended approval with. Some of those conditions have to do with fulfilling their engineering for water and sanitary sewer main extensions. Those have to be reviewed by both the Public Works Department and the Montana Department of Environmental Quality. So that they would have final engineering plans to do that should they once they get preliminary plat. Should you approve the preliminary plat at that time, then they would go into more engineering on it. Just to give you a little bit of overview of the land, this is just looking south from Middle Ark. This here is Middle Ark and Arizona Street. Within this area, it's not part of the subdivision of the amended plat, but it is owned by the applicant, and this here is an area where they would do part of their stormwater detention for the subdivision, so it would become a utility stormwater track within this area of the property. Just looking south down Arizona Street, we do have some single family and manufactured homes on the east side of Arizona. Just looking back kind of to the northwest, Electric Street as you proceed up. And this is the corner of Electric and Western, and then looking back north along Western Avenue. One thing as we go back to, whoops, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. As we go back to the plat, there is another proposal along with the 83 lots that is along here of Middle Ark. This here area to this line is dedicated. The remainder of Middle Ark, although it is improved and used as public right-of-way, is actually owned by this here property owner. So part of the proposed subdivision would be for that owner to dedicate this portion of Middle Ark Avenue to Butte-Silver Bow. So then we would have a full 60 feet of right-of-way of Middle Ark that is dedicated, and all Arizona Electric and Western are already dedicated streets, and then they would propose to dedicate the interior Avon Circle or Avon Loop as part of that dedication. The applicant is requesting one variance from the subdivision regulations, and that is to the utility easement requirements. The subdivision regulations require that there's utility easements provided along the side and rear property lines. The applicant has requested a variance and would like to put their utility easement along the front yard setback within their, provide a 10-foot utility easement within that area. They have met with Northwestern Energy. Northwestern believes that 10 feet is adequate to provide the services they need, as well as probably any others such as telephone, internet within that easement. So the planning board did recommend approval of that variance also. This subdivision does require a park and recreation, parks donation. The applicant has proposed 2 walking paths within this area to be dedicated to provide an interiors access so that people can access the Jeremy Bullock Fields, the Margaret Leary School without having to go back out to Middle Ark and around. This has been reviewed, proposal has been reviewed by the Park and Rec Board and also the Parks Director. They're in favor of the walking paths as long as there is a combination of a cash donation and the walking paths. If the applicant did just a cash donation, the amount required would be approximately $33,942. So the proposal is that the cost to construct the walking paths along with the land donation be subtracted from that $33,942 and the rest be met by the cash donation. So it would be a combination of land, improvements of the walking path, and the cash donation. And with that, Madam Chair, I would answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Are there any questions from council members for the staff? Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lori, is there any type of safety concern with not having an exit on the south end of that loop?
Lori?
Seems like there's a lot of houses in there that would be a potential issue.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Morgan, we did talk with the fire department about that. They did not have any safety concerns. However, at the public hearing, at the planning board, there was a lot of concern about traffic within the area. So the 13th condition that you'll see within your staff report is the requirement for the applicant to do a traffic study for the area.
Okay. Any follow-up, John? Commissioner Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lori, I guess with the 10-foot easement on the front facing the streets, there will be no sidewalks then if there's an easement for utilities. So there, with no sidewalks and the school in the area, 80 houses, is that the new safe routes to school motto?
Lori, care to answer that?
Madam
question?
Chair, Commissioner Palmer, there will be sidewalks. The sidewalks will be located within the public right-of-way. And then the 10-foot easement is actually on the property. So it's the property boundary coming in is the 10-foot easement.
Okay.
The sidewalks will be located within the public right-of-way, and their subdivision regulations do require that they provide sidewalks on all the streets that are adjacent to their property.
Okay, follow-up, Commissioner Palmer.
Just one other question on the Meadowlark part that you talked about. You said another property owns that, another property owner actually owns Meadowlark down there, and they're required to deed it, or have they made an agreement for them to do that and it's already in the works?
Lori?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Palmer, the applicant and his engineers are here. So they can probably answer where they're at in that process. They are the ones working with that property owner, and he has supplied a letter that he is agreeable to dedicate that portion of Middle Ark.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for staff? Commissioner Henderson?
Madam Chair, Lori, did you say that they would have sidewalks out in front, who would be responsible for the sidewalks then? Would that be the city or would that be the homeowners association?
Lori?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Henderson, the installation of the sidewalks would be the responsibility of the developer, the subdivider. Then, of course, the maintenance as the lots sell would become each individual property owner's responsibility to maintain their sidewalk.
Oh, it would be individual. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Commissioner Purdue Dolan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lori, you mentioned the largest home in this subdivision was approximately 18,000. What was the smallest? And do you have a range of prices, or is that too soon to say what the price range of these homes would be here in Butte-Silver Bow?
Cindy, do you mean $18,000 for the lot?
No, 18,000, is it 18,000 square feet?
Oh.
And what was the small range? And can we talk about the price range as well?
Lori?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Padu-Dolan, the 18,000 is the size of the lot, and then the smallest is around 8,600. Again, maybe the applicant can speak to his anticipation of how much the home prices would be. I can tell you that the lot sizes do meet the zoning requirements.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Now, if anybody cares to speak, we'll start with proponents. Anyone cares to speak in favor of this project, please come to either microphone on the left or right here and state your name and address for the record. First call. Mr. Rogers?
Madam Chair and members of the council, my name is Ray Rogers. I reside at 827 Stagecoach Road, and I'm speaking as a proponent of the Copper Fox Estates subdivision. As a private business owner here in Butte and current president of the Board of Directors of the Butte Local Development Corporation, I'd like to speak about the positive impact that this new subdivision could have on Butte. Over the past several years, I've been working very actively with the BLDC and Butte's other economic development organizations on a number of different efforts to market and promote our community, to develop strategies to support and retain our existing companies, to encourage and support our growth, our growing community of young entrepreneurs, and to develop strategies to aggressively compete with other communities to attract new companies and new jobs to Butte. Through the work of the Butte Economic Development Coordinating Council, we're already making very good efforts and great strides on an integrated marketing approach in which we hope to develop a unified marketing plan and marketing strategy for our community. With Pam Cody as our new executive director of the BLDC is already opening new doors. We're making great progress, and I'm excited about what the BLDC and our other economic development organizations will do in the coming months and years. Key to our success, however, will be our ability as a community to offer affordable, quality, single-family housing options for those looking to move to Butte. The Copper Fox Estates subdivision is a well-planned subdivision that will be a true asset to our community and will be essential to our ability to promote this community. I've worked very closely over the past year with Mike Hughes, Les Thomas, Ryan Kasny, the developers, and I've been immensely impressed with their commitment to this project and their commitment to Butte. They've come to the table willing to work, to give and take, to negotiate in good faith, and they've not wavered at all in their desire to make this project happen here in Butte. I commend them for their efforts and their commitment to our community. The subdivision will be a great asset to Butte. It will improve an undeveloped area of our community. It will generate significant tax revenues for the city-county, and it will have a significant economic impact with the addition of $18+ million in new home construction over the next few years. I wholeheartedly support the development of the Copper Fox Estates subdivision, and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Second call for proponents.
Good evening, commissioners. Chief Executive Matt Vincent. My name is Pam Haxby Cody. I'm the Executive Director of the Butte Local Development Corporation. Bear with me, I have a terrible sore throat. And I'm so glad that Ray, my president, went first because he cut my speech down by 5 pages.
Thank you, Ray.
This is going to be really quick. Thank you for this opportunity to stand before you this evening as a proponent of this project. And before I begin, I want you to know what a great staff you have in your planning department. Just want to say that. I got to tell the planning board that, but you have an amazing staff and they've been wonderful to work with. So thank you. You should be proud of them. So Ray stole my thunder. I wish he would have told me what he was writing earlier. We actually do pretty good dog and pony show here. Building new homes requires the services of a diverse group of people and the products of many different industries. This project is going to involve architects, lawyers, bankers, real estate agents, and other consultants. As this project enters the building process, construction workers and specialized personnel like plumbers and electricians are going to be needed. The development of this housing project will create good-paying jobs for our Butte neighbors. The economic impacts of developing housing extend beyond the construction stage to the years when the new homes are occupied by its new residents. The increased pride and responsibility that the residents feel for their dwellings often result in the consumption of goods and services to complement their new home. Beginning a new life in a new home is often accompanied by the purchase of new appliances, new furnishings, and other household supplies. Later, other improvements may be made to their homes itself, including addition of decks, new landscapings, new rooms, other type of things. The new residences and later the improvements can encourage others in the community to take care of their own properties and common areas, ultimately stabilizing the area. Finally, this new housing development will be accompanied by infrastructure improvements like paved roads, walking paths, new water and sewer lines, which could further encourage new housing development. An abundance of new and affordable housing can lower the cost of living for a community, making it attractive to residents and industries. The construction workers working on this project will be spending a substantial part of their wages in Butte. Butte businesses will benefit from the increased patronage, from the sale of building supplies for the project, from the sale to the residents of their new houses. The prosperity of the owners and the employees of these Butte businesses will increase, allowing them to purchase more from their local ventures or from other local ventures. And so the ripple effect continues and reaches more parts of the community than those directly related to just the construction. And the revenues that you folks in our local government will see increase as a result of this housing development project will be beneficial. In the long run, Butte-Silver will be able to generate revenue from new property taxes on the project. All of this adds up so that even a small project, and this isn't a small project, can generate a great deal of new government revenue, some of which may be used to encourage more housing development or improve services like education and public safety, and thus promote further economic development. In conclusion, I believe the impact of this housing development will be substantial on our local economy because it will free up more and better housing to accommodate additional Butte households. It will increase property revenue or property values. It will extend new infrastructure to the site that's needed. It will provide for longer-term improvements in affordability across the entire Butte housing market. And I promise it's only 5 more pages. And it will bring additional spending and investment in Butte shops and services for years to come. But more importantly, the development of this housing project will create good-paying construction jobs for our friends, our relatives, and our neighbors. I encourage you to look favorably upon this project. Thank you.
Okay, third and final call for proponents.
Good evening. My name is Jenna Richards, and I'm a real estate broker at Markovich Real Estate here in Butte. I represent the Copper Fox Development and Les Thomas Construction as their real estate broker. I've been a real estate broker in Butte for the past 29 years. I'm very excited to be here tonight to speak in favor of this project, provide you with some details about Copper Fox Estates. This new subdivision will provide quality, affordable, attractive, well-designed, and constructed single-family homes. They can be marketed to a wide audience of home buyers, including single professionals, retired couples, families, and out-of-town people moving into our community. This will be a very attractive subdivision for a number of reasons. The plan for the subdivision offers a variety of nice-sized lots. The spacing between the houses allows for wide setbacks, and the lots are large enough to accommodate homes with triple-car garages. They offer 4 different plans that will be available that will include both finished or unfinished basements, and the homes range in size from 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. The price point for these houses is affordable and with a starting price of around $230,000, which includes the lot. The subdivision will have a great walkability with the addition of walking bike path around the perimeter of the subdivision. The subdivision is in very close proximity to the Margaret Leary School and the Jeremy Bullock Soccer Complex. The central location of this subdivision will make it very attractive. This is located with easy access to Montana Street, Harrison Avenue, shopping, the airport, Stodden Park, and the interstate. This is a prime, centrally located subdivision. Having already sold out and built over 30 homes in 2 subdivisions with Les Thomas Construction here in Butte, we know that there is a demand in this market for these homes at this price point. We continue to work with individuals and couples in Butte looking to build a new home, and we speak regularly with out-of-town and out-of-state residents looking to move to Butte who are looking for newly constructed. In my professional opinion and that of my colleagues, this will be a highly marketable subdivision that helps meet a growing need for new houses in this price range. We believe this will be good for the economy of Butte, given the significant construction value of these homes and the additions of these homes to the Butte-Silver Bow tax base. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with my professional perspective on the Copper Fox Estates. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Any other proponents to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ryan Kasny. I'm an engineer out of Helena. I have been lucky enough to do quite a bit of work in Butte. The last subdivision I did here was Columbia Gardens Estates. Turned out really well, built out quickly, even in the time frame that we developed that, 2008, 2009, a really tough time in the housing market. And I believe the reason that subdivision succeeded was not only the developer's good layout plan, but it was smart planning by the surveyor. It was the cooperation we had from Public Works and from the planning department. Butte is a place where it's a pleasure to do development work. I've done developments in probably a half dozen counties at this point, counties and cities, and Butte is one of the best ones to work in. So I again want to express my appreciation for the planning department, Public Works. I do have one thing that was a topic of quite a bit of discussion at the planning board, and that was the requirement for 8-foot turn lanes on all of the existing, 8-foot parking lanes on all of the existing surrounding roadways. We objected to that condition of approval and to that part of the staff report. It's page 6 of your staff report, and there were some reasons we objected to it. I'd like to share exactly what our thoughts were and share with you the compromise that we've come up with Public Works. So this is a plan view that shows all 4 of the surrounding roadways. We have Electric Street, we have Western Boulevard, we have Meadowlark Road, and we have Arizona Street. Like many streets in older parts of towns, these streets are not aligned perfectly down the center of their right-of-way. You can see these solid black lines. On either side of the street is the edge of the right-of-way. Meadowlark Road, we're lucky enough to have, Western Boulevard right here, we're lucky enough to have an 80-foot right-of-way. So we don't have any issue getting an 8-foot parking lane on the edge of that road. We've got 42.5 feet to play with. between edge of existing asphalt and property line. So we have no issue with doing a turn lane on Western Boulevard. Where it becomes extremely difficult is places like Electric Street. Electric Street is skewed to the north of center line. Therefore, we only have 14.1 feet from edge of existing pavement to property line. If we were to put in a 2-foot curb and gutter section, an 8-foot parking lane, and a 5-foot sidewalk like we're being required to, we can't fit within the right of way there. Similarly, and worst case scenario, we go down to Meadowlark here. Meadowlark, here's the edge of the right of way, right there and there. Here's the edge of the pavement. We only have 11.3 feet to play with there. So we obviously can't physically fit an 8-foot parking lane on that side of Meadowlark that's fronting the subdivision. Now, just a few minutes ago, I had a chance to speak with the staff from Butte-Silver Public Works, and we have worked out a compromise. We will do the parking lanes on Western Boulevard, and we will also do the parking lanes on Arizona Street. They fit on both of those, and my client, the developer, does not have an objection to that. So I wanted to clarify that in case any of you went through the planning board notes. There has been a compromise reached there that we're happy with. The last thing I want to mention is the condition of approval that was added at the planning board, and that's the condition of approval for a traffic study. We have retained a traffic engineer out of Helena, Bob Abilene, with Abilene Traffic Services, and we've got to start on that already. So we don't have any issue with that condition of approval. I thought that would be worth stating on the record tonight as well. That's all I had. If any questions come up of the engineering type, I'm happy to answer. Thank you for your time.
Lights, action. Thank you. Thank you for that. And being a public comment period, of course, there's no dialogue, but we certainly know who to talk to after the meeting if that should be a situation we'd like to do. Any further proponents for this project?
Yes, for the record, my name is Jim Cambich. I'm the president and CEO of Murdy. This project, I want to keep myself brief, was sold by, this property was sold by a subsidiary of ours called Continental Public Land Trust. The planning department is probably happy to hear after 15 years, the 3,000 acres we acquired from Inland Properties in 1998. This is the last piece to be sold. However, there are some significant numbers that go into all this, but I want to be a proponent for this project, not just because it's the last piece to be sold of the land trust properties, but it's a significant piece of the pie for economic development here in Butte. Over the past years, we've heard the statistics of what it'll provide for in the form of new taxes and being close to an elementary school. It's got all the nuances of becoming a very, very good, solid development for Butte-Silver Bow. As far as Continental Land Trust, we've been very happy. We've taken 3,000 acres over these past 15, 16 years, and which was generating $35,000 in tax revenue for Butte-Silver Bow. Today, those properties now generate over $1.5 million to the county coffers of Butte-Silver Bow. I think it's been a well endeavor for Butte-Silver Bow. I commend the developers that have stepped up and bought some of these properties. Some of them have been environmentally impaired. They've worked very closely with Public Works, Planning Department. They've been very, very good to work with over these last years to make the subdivisions, minor subdivisions, the variances that need to be made to make things happen. I look at East Butte, there's been over $20 million of private investment in East Butte alone since around probably 2000. So it's very happy. Butte-Silver Bow has played a very significant part in the creation of taking some of these properties, and I guess it's making chicken salad out of you-know-what. So, and I want to let it be known that Commissioner Walker, I still have never forgiven him for turning the dryer on when I was in first grade at Butte High and stuffing me in that dryer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Any other proponents like to speak on behalf of the project? Please give us your name and address for the record, sir.
Madam Chair, Commissioner members, my name is Michael Hughes. For the record, I reside at 795 Front Street in Helena, Montana. Give me 30 seconds. I love the history about Butte. 59 years ago, I was born just a few blocks from here, and at the time it was called Butte Community Hospital. December 10th of 1948, my father came to Butte. Tried to get a job underground. They said he was too young. 3 days later, December 13th, on the evening of his 19th birthday, they put him to work and he went underground. He was, for that night only, he was the youngest miner on the hill out of 5,000 miners. Love that story, and I just had to share that with you. I told him I would tonight. So he's 86 years old this last December. So at any rate, I'd just like to also go echo and go on the record with saying that it's a pleasure that working with your planning staff and your departments here. They're very forward-thinking and very, very professional, and it's been a pleasure working with them. When this project was first presented to me by Les, the very first thing I did is I called Bill Markovich and said, Bill, what do you think of this? I mean, you know, I think you got a good pulse of what's happening in town. And Bill said, Mike, I can't tell you how much need we have for projects like this in Butte. We are starving for some good subdivisions with some new housing. And he said, man, he said, I would be all in to help you out. And I think it's a great project. Well, that was all I needed right there to really tell Les I'm on board. And so here we are tonight presenting this to you. In regards to some of the lot sizes that one of the commissioners had asked about, we could have created more density with the zoning here, but we elected not to. Some of the up and coming things that are being asked for by the buyers today are these 3-car garages. It seems to be a big thing in the marketing aspect of new homes today with people that are transferring and getting jobs and buying new homes. So we elected to, I think Dan redesigned it twice to be able to accommodate those lot widths to be able to get these bigger garages in place there. So, and one of the things that I think is really a positive thing here as well is that you know, we see so many people, Jana, the real estate industry here, people are looking to move to Montana on the internet. They're not driving and shopping and looking. They're getting online. These millennial kids are Googling this, Googling that. And one of the things that I think that this project's going to do is going to be in front and center, that Butte has some great new housing available for the workforce or the retiree who might be wanting to move to Butte. So I think that's a really new way. I think like right now, 7 out of 10 home buyers, their first touch on that purchase of that new home is on the internet. And so it's, I think it's going to be a big thing, positive to Butte as well. One of the things that, I just want to check my notes here. I want to say that this is a big project, and this project is not going to fill up overnight. We think that this project's probably going to take a minimum of 5 years to actually build out. I mean, even though we're going in now and getting it done, I think that reality would be, oh yeah, could we go in and build all 80 houses tomorrow? That isn't going to happen. It isn't going to happen to the neighborhood. It just isn't. I think that we're going to see an average of probably 12 to 14, 15 homes built in the subdivision each year. And that's what we're anticipating on that. We're going to work diligently, Les says, on the house pricing. We're going to try hard. We've got some really serious expenses on this infrastructure that we have to extend. And so that's going to make it, we don't know really where we're going to land yet. We hope that price point's going to be there, maybe even a little lower, but we won't know for sure until our drawings are all approved by Public Works and the DEQ and so forth, and we're able to get pricing on that. So, at any rate, with that, I just again are here tonight to ask your blessing for this approval. I know one thing that Les and I both do. I build homes in Helena, and I actually have built homes here in Butte as well. That we look at the public sector as part of the team that it takes to do a building project or a development, and that whether it's from the building department all the way to this commission tonight, not an adversary, but a part of your team. When that building inspector comes out and does his inspections, you're not there to be argumentative with him. You're there to go, hey, what do we need to do together to make this work? And that's a philosophy that Les has and that I have. And so tonight we're asking you to step alongside our team and help us move this project forward. And we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Any other proponents? Last call for proponents. Okay, now I have a calling out for any opponents, pardon me, to the project. Any comments in opposition to the project? Second call. Third and final call for opponents. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and thank you everyone for coming tonight and giving us a nice short view of what is before us. So, Lori, is there anything further you'd like to comment on? All right. So moving on to section 2, this is a presentation, communication number 16-1, JP Gallagher, Director of Butte-Silver Parks and Recreation Department, requesting council's authorization to give a presentation on January 13th, 2016 regarding the Stodden Park pool conceptual design and cost analysis. JP, this floor is yours.
All right, just give us 1 second. Okay. I'm wondering, can we do the lights, John? Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you first of all for allowing me to present the pool option that Parks and Rec as we've gone forward and looked at all the information that we gathered that was gathered last year from my predecessor EJ, as he did a lot of the legwork that we're bringing forward today to you with the option that we looked at that we think is the best option for Butte. So go ahead, Laz, help me today. Yeah. And for the record, I'm JP Gallagher, Director of Parks and Rec. You know, why do we need a pool? You know, there's so many things that add to the community, and a swimming pool is one of them. First, oh, go back, please. You're going too fast. All right. Well, sorry. The swimming pools have been around for many, many years. 1886, first one was in Boston, Massachusetts, I believe. And so why does Butte need a pool? Now, swimming pools are used for recreational activities such as informal swimming, pool parties, other group activities. They can be used for exercise, swimming laps, water aerobics, and they're also used for educational purposes. Swimming lessons, lifeguard training are just a couple of examples. And pools serve the needs of many people who suffer from medical conditions and injuries. Okay, now hit it. No, just hit it. There. No, just. Is it? All right, what are the benefits of swimming pool? Swimming pools offer means of social interaction. They give the opportunity to participate in aerobic yet low impact exercise. Swimming pools also increase safety in the community, and this is a big one. According to ESPN's Richard Lapchick, well-known African-American swimmer, Sabir Muhammad says, no one dies from not being able to play basketball. But in other words, swimming is not just exercise, it's a life-saving skill. And having therapeutic or ADA-approved pools help people in the community who have special needs. This is the one that I really kind of jumped out at me. There's 10 states in the United States, the #1 cause of death for children under 14 years of age die from, and it's from drowning. And when you look at the recreational activities in Montana, most people have their children around water. And it's not just a luxury to have a pool, it's kind of a necessity to teach the life-saving skills of learning how to swim and those life-saving activities that come along with it. Go ahead. Oh, you went backwards. Okay, so as I said before, most of the information that was gathered from the community was gathered by my predecessor. And there was many public meetings and also online polls and surveys that were put out there. And so with that, we took the data that was gathered from that and we gathered the results that we came up with to present to you today. Go ahead. First off, I can't get this on there. The #1 thing, should we build an outdoor pool in Butte? 90% of the people in Butte that responded to the survey said, yeah, we need a pool in Butte. And there's also other things in here that's saying, well, how much would you be willing to pay added to your tax base on here? And it varied, but for the most part, it was between $20 and $35 on a $100,000 house. So people are willing to pay the extra money to have the swimming pool for the community. Go ahead, Les. Okay. What are the things that people wanted to have? And I know some of the proposals in the past had that we were looking at a 3.5-foot pool. Well, the 3.5-foot pool doesn't offer the #1 activity that people wanted the most out of this, and that was recreational swimming. Recreational swimming would require us to have a deep pool option with a pool here. So with that, that's part of what we're looking at is going forward here. Swim lessons were a high level need that people looked at. Slides and play features were the second highest vote getter as far as what people wanted to have within the responses here. Waves to ride was fairly high. Flow to lazy river was third highest on here. And then the other ones kind of fell within the means of what we wanted to see here. Other things that were surveyed on here was how far away do you travel now to go and use recreational activities or use swimming pools? And the majority of people were driving 30 miles away. That's telling me that they're going to Fairmont and they're going to Anaconda. So, and from my own personal experience with having kids and growing up here over the last 10 years without having a pool, I know where I took my kids, and it was to Fairmont, it was to Anaconda. And so when I went to those places, probably 50% of the people that were in attendance in both of those places were from Butte, spending their money out at a resort and then also spending their money in Anaconda. And then the last thing that was surveyed on here, where would you like to have this pool located? And it was overwhelmingly, let's relocate it back at Stoughton Park. So from there, we kind of made some decisions. What do we want to do? Go ahead. We went and took a look at these other pools in other cities and said, what are the benefits to your pools? What works well? What doesn't work so well? We went to the Billings Oasis pool, which is actually a private pool, but they were one that had a 3.5-foot pool. They didn't have a deep water option in that, but they said there's many out-of-town families, very family friendly. Safety is incredible. They have water slides, lots of private parties and reservations. They make a lot of money in their concessions. Interactive play features and toddler area were a huge success. And when you do your season passes, make them family friendly and make them affordable. The cons, it was only 3.5 feet deep and attracts kids under the age of 13. Once they got past the age of 13, you don't see those kids at that park. Parents are so comfortable, they don't watch their kids. And then I put on here the filter system. They said when you build your pool, make sure you take a look at the different things that you have. The filter system they put in there is a high maintenance filter system. And so they said to really make sure you take a look at that. Go ahead. Helena's Last Chance Splash Pad. The pros of it, they have the zero depth pool, water slides, 2 of the slides. They go into their 50-meter pool, the splash deck and lazy river that they have, the interactive play features and toddler area, families with kids and kids up to 15 years old that attend there, and they have 2 shade areas. The cons is the 50-meter pool is not used much other than when the kids are sliding down into the pool. The swim team and lessons are mostly what they use that 50-meter pool for. And so they use a lot of operation and maintenance just to maintain that pool. The city charges for their water. The maintenance side is high. And again, this is going back to if we choose to build a pool and we go forward with this, we need to really look at what boiler system we're putting in here and what chemical system you're putting in there, because they've said that they've had to really do a lot of maintenance with those 2 things. So it's important that we really take a look at those things. As looking at what their revenue was, they generated $140,750 over the last 6 seasons. That was the average of that. Their average expenses over the last 6 years were $416,684. Go ahead. Then we took a look at the Great Falls Electric Water Park. Again, the pros are water slides. They entered the 50-meter pool as well, 2 large slides, no inner tubes. Their Flow Rider and Lazy River were the most popular features. And those are independent features of the pool themselves as well when you go up to Great Falls. It's tourism. It's a destination for surrounding communities. And of course, they're in a location where they're probably the biggest city in this side of Canada. So they get a lot of Canadian residents that come down and visit their water park. It's family friendly. There's something for everyone. They do a lot of evening promotions. Again, their concessions make a lot of money. And they anticipate to make money next year because they'll pay off their bond issue that they have out there. So the cons, they have an indoor facility as well. So they have really kind of 3 different facilities all within their park there. They have an indoor facility, they have a 50-meter pool as well, and then they have the lazy river with the surf rider. They said that the teens drop off after about 15 years old, and that's pretty common in most of the places that we do. They don't have any shade areas for the people up in Great Falls, so they didn't have any shelters that they could do. And the revenue generated over the last 6 years is $360,000 that they make a year, $175, and the average expenses are you can't really see it on there, are about, I believe it's $534,500. And that includes the $167,000 bond payment. So when you subtract that bond payment that will sunset this next year, they'll actually be close to making money or breaking even on this water park in Great Falls. Go ahead. So taking a look at all those things, we also asked Missoula to provide us with a lot of that data, and the Missoula Aquatics Director just got back to me today, so I didn't have that to put in there as well. But that's a hugely successful water park as well that they have. So as we looked at everybody's features and what works for them, we decided that the things that this facility would really need to have is the zero depth leisure pool. Now that gives us a couple different things of why we would do that. And that is the zero depth allows for its ADA right off the bat. So our handicapped people, you can roll a wheelchair. You don't have to have the lifts to put people into the pool or any of those things. The interactive play features keep the younger kids entertained during the time of their time at the water when they're at the pool. The water slides entertain and work with the older kids. Water features, kids like to spray each other and do different things, get underneath the few water features they have. And then the lazy river was a big one that they say is a really huge success at all the water parks that they have there. And the reason being is it keeps people at the water park. It allows for adults that really aren't on your slides and utilizing the other parts of it. That a lot of times are just sitting watching their kids. They'll actually float around in the lazy river. The lazy river also offers other things with it. It becomes a therapeutic aid for people. We can open up the pool for them to walk against the current of a lazy river, where you could do it for exercise, you could do it for therapeutic reasons. Somebody that's coming off an injury, that's a lot of times that is the least resistance exercise that somebody could do. So it can turn into a therapeutic benefit for our citizens in Butte. Diving boards, we're looking to put in 2 diving boards. We are having the deep end area this year going to 8.5 feet, and the diving boards would be at 26 inches. And we'd have 2 diving boards that would be added to the to what we're looking at on this feature. And that's another amenity that people said that they would like to have as well, along with it. The 5 rental cabanas are really, they're there for the public. They can help have birthday parties. They can rent them out. They can do different things. They offer shade areas for people as they spend the day at the water park. So all these features, as we looked at, it's really kind of the retention and what will bring people into our facility and really make it a first-class facility for Butte. Go ahead. So as we look at it, this is just a conceptual drawing of what we're looking at. Again, you'll see the deep area that we have in there. And we've kind of just, if you remember the old pool, it had kind of an area similar to this. We'll have more surface area within this pool than the old one did, but we'll have a lot less water in there because of the design of the pool, which adds to less maintenance of the pool compared to just building the old pool that we had in there because it had a lot more volume of water. So at where we have the diving boards, it will be an 8.5 foot area. We can also offer lap swimming and swimming lessons and different amenities at that end of the pool, and have a lot of different things that we can do to that. So it offers something for everybody, not just for the kids in Butte. This is a community. It's from anybody from birth till essentially death that they could enjoy using our pool. And it is about the kids in our community not having a pool over the last 10 years, but it's really about the community not having a pool over the last 10 years. Go ahead. So I'm going to turn it over just to Dave Schultz, and he's going to talk a little bit about the building and what will be added and what it takes as we go forward with this.
Thank you, JP. So the way that we would implement this, should the council decide to authorize a bond issue and should the public vote in favor of this, the steps we would take to make this happen would be we would remove and dispose of the existing bathhouse, pool, and concrete deck. There's a lot of discussion in our community and on this council as well about what happened to the old pool. The old pool, I think, was built in '68 or thereabouts, and there was a lot of differential settlement that caused cracking of the pool deck, that caused breaking of pipes, that caused cracking of the pool itself. And also, the old pool being fairly deep, it was down to where the groundwater in the area also influenced the pool. So by removing the existing bathhouse, we can address these problems. We'll be able to take out the existing building and then raise that deck by about 3 feet. We'll bring in the right stuff, engineered fill, so that it won't be soil that will move once this structure gets built on top of it. We've installed some piezometers in that area of Stodden Park, and we have found that the water table, at least right now, is 14.5 feet below the surface. It's going to rise some in spring when it rains a lot, but we're fairly confident that this 3 foot of additional elevation of this pool deck will keep this new pool well above the groundwater table. And that will help us to avoid the cost to de-water, but it will also avoid the potential that groundwater can come in when the pool's empty in the winter, that the groundwater can come in and cause cracking. So we think that a lot of the problems that occurred that plagued the old pool, we can design out of the new one. So that's the first bullet. The second one is to construct a new bathhouse. Another advantage to demolishing, and we have costs on the next page, but we think that the cost to build a new structure is not substantially different from trying to retrofit the old one. And the concept that we have is we'll make a new bathhouse that will be architecturally somewhat more conforming with the carousel and kind of make all of this look like it's a much more integral design package. I talked about the third bullet where we increase the ground elevation by 3 feet. We'll bring in engineered fill, then with fencing, and we'll put in concrete decks and pools and sidewalks, and we'll landscape it. And then the next page, please, Bob. And then, I don't know how come we're not exactly squared up today. There we go. Here's the best latest estimates of cost. And Vanessa Armstrong with Pioneer is a very competent, good engineer who's been helping us put that together, and she's here in the audience tonight as well. And so as we go through these costs, if there's questions later that JP or I can't answer, I'm sure that she can. But it's broken down into, well, 4 general areas here. And so the pool infrastructure, building the zero depth leisure pool, then adding the deep section. There is no longer any dewatering. Putting in the water features, the splash fountains, the spray guns, the diving boards, the lazy river, the jungle gym, all those things that kind of make this a multi-use facility for people, or for families that have kids of various ages in the water slides. That bottom line cost is a little over $4.3 million. To demolish, then the second section there, to demolish the existing building and to build the new bathhouse, that cost is right under $685,000. Then that bottom section there discusses the various construction elements, removing of the existing pool, bringing in the engineered fill, installing sod all the way down through installing fencing and the pavilions and the cabanas. And those costs, those added infrastructure costs, total $698,163. And so, see if we can't make the bottom number show up for a second. Maybe we can prop something under that. There we go. So if we add on to that, the mobilization, bonding, and insurance, we want to add in a contingency. At this point, these costs are kind of plus or minus 15%. We also need to add in the cost it will take to sell bonds, to do the engineering and that type of thing. That comes out to be a little over $1.5 million, which brings us to a bottom line cost of $8.7 million for this facility. And so Danette Gleason, our budget director, is going to get up and talk a little bit about some options and how we could maybe go about funding and paying for this.
Thank you, Dave. You wanna go to the next slide? There you go. So like Public Works Director Schultz just indicated to you, the total cost of issuing the bonds as well as the capital cost for improvements for this particular project is $8.7 million. Again, noting that we took a high numbers here, we took a high interest rate, we did probably like worst best case scenario type analysis here so that you could see what a maximum cost might be for this type of facility. The annual debt service would be around $640,161. That's with an average rate of 4% of issuing of the bonds. Remember, it's all about timing when you're issuing the bonds, what's available on the market, who's buying and selling at that time. Also, and what the Fed does with the interest rates. And we've seen the interest rate move in December, and we anticipate some small moves as we go up. And, you know, it's really tough when we're sitting here now in January trying to determine what we might sell bonds for in July. So, you know, we just took a high number, and so these numbers could be slightly inflated to the market. The annual operating costs are $400,000 with an annual revenue. Again, a very conservative annual revenue number of $50,000. You've seen what some of the other facilities are generating in concession and gate fees, which are significantly more than this. But again, we're trying to get those numbers just so everybody can see a worst case type scenario here. Net operating expense then would be $350,000. We go to the next slide, it gives some of the tax implications for debt service and operating costs. The capital service debt costs at $640,161 at our current mill value would equate to 10.64 mills. The $350,000 in operation and maintenance costs would be 5.82 mills. So the total estimated annual cost based on these numbers that have been presented is 16.46 mills. If you look down below on the chart, I don't know if you can turn that over a little bit. There you go. Right now, what we're looking at here is just residential property. So your assessed values are on the far left there for different residential values with the taxable value in the next column. So if we go down to $100,000 residential value with a taxable value of $1,350, we're looking at around $14.37 annually for the debt service, $7.86 for operating costs, for a total cost of $22.23 on a $100,000 home. I'll drop to the $200,000 assessed value, and it'll be $2,700 under the current tax rates. It'd be $28.73 in debt service with a $15.71 operating cost for a total annual cost of $44.44. As you can see, these numbers, we've had a lot of conversations about this. It's like one family trip to other facilities that are located nearby. We've heard all the comments about it's, 2 or 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks. That's kind of what we're looking here. And when you move over to businesses as well, the impact again, if you just look at that $100,000 home with the $1,350 taxable value, the way the current tax structure is, it's been simplified. So any business that we have that has taxable value, not assessed value, you've got to go to the taxable value column, for every $1,350 in taxable value, you're going to be looking at $22.23 increase on the taxes. So if you look at $1 million business out there, I'm just looking at commercial property, so taking that tax rate into effect would be about $18,900 taxable value. You're looking at around $311 annually increase on a tax bill.
So as we go forward and as we're looking at this, why did we get to where we were at? There was some of the things in there like adding a wave pool into here and other questions about a 50-meter pool. The wave pool, although would be a wonderful addition to this pool, we looked at the personnel costs that it would take to have there. I talked to some of the facilities that do have wave pools. It takes a minimum of 6 people when that is operating, have lifeguard stations to be watching a wave pool. So the personnel costs associated with a wave pool that went with it, we thought would add too much cost and actually enough trained staff, which we're going to be reliant on and working with the YMCA to work with people that they have as lifeguards and we have as lifeguards and making sure we have trained staff on there. We thought that was one of the amenities that we thought we didn't need to add to the pool on this. As Danette said, one trip out to Fairmont will pay the difference in taxes. On a $100,000 house, it's less than $2 a month added to your taxes. On a $200,000 house, it's $4 a month added to your taxes. I know we've had a generation of kids, and mine included in here, that have not had the opportunity to have a pool. And I know it for myself, I grew up at Stodden Park. When we looked at how much does it cost to rebuild the pool as is, the way it is, the operational costs would be significantly higher just because of the amount of water that you would have in there. But also, all those costs will be associated with rebuilding this pool, except for about $1.5 million of the added amenities, which I believe will really draw people to the pool here in Butte. We have a lot of activity that happens in Butte over the summers. If you go to the Walmart parking lot right now, you'll see that many of the plates in the Walmart parking lot, when they're coming in here and they're shopping, and then they're going out of town. We have our plates from Butte going over to Anaconda or going over to Fairmont and spending their money there rather than staying in town here. And when you go out of town, no matter where you go, you generally are spending money at their convenience stores or at their fast food restaurants and different places there as well. So I believe with all the activity we have in the summer, we will also attract outside people, in the general area, the Anaconda, the Whitehall, the Dillon. Those people will be coming because they're shopping in Butte anyhow. It gives them a reason to stay if they have kids, that they can enjoy our facilities as well. But we're building this park for our kids in Butte. The cost of it for our kids to enter, we're looking at a price point of about $5, but we're also going to offer some opportunities for scholarship opportunities and make sure that our family and our passes for the year are priced so that this is attractive for them to enter the facility, not to keep them away. And we want to make sure that all of the kids in Butte are able to come and swim at this facility. And, I look at some of the things that we have. We have free busing right now. What's not to say we can, really develop some routes where kids can jump on a bus and come down and swim at the pool and have that summertime activity that we've been now missing here in Butte for the last 10 years. So I'll open it up for any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you, JP. Thank you, Dave and Danette, for a comprehensive follow-up on our swimming pool ideas. Any questions from council members? Commissioner Henderson?
Madam Chair, JP, I had a question. Almost probably, from what I understood, was about probably 60-70% of the money generated for income to help pay for some of the expenses and that with the pool, and that comes from a concession stand, up to maybe 70% from the ones I talked to. So I was wondering, when you're talking a concession stand, are we going to do the concession stand with the swimming pool, or is it in conjunction with the carousel? Or how is that going to work so that we're able to get that income for that swimming pool to help run it?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Henderson, we've been talking that there is a lease agreement with the carousel, and some of the pieces in that lease agreement had language about shared concession and shared bathroom facilities and different things of that nature. I've been at the carousel board meetings. I've been in touch with the carousel members and talked to them, and I don't have a clear answer on what you're asking me today, but they've gone forward with building their facility knowing that our facility is at least 2 years out. And so they have added a concession area. They have bathroom facilities within the building that they have there. I think that, we can talk to them about how that will be shared, what we're going to do. I don't have a real clear answer to tell you how that breakout will be right at this current time, but it is something that we will talk to. We definitely want to work together with the carousel. It's two amenities together that can draw people there. I think we need to have a dual price point where you could have a carousel pass and a pool pass to work together so that both of these facilities can be successful together.
A follow-up.
Commissioner Henderson?
Madam Chair, well, that kind of didn't quite answer my question, because I understand, you come in a little behind here on this thing. So what I was wondering about is, when you're trying to figure out how much money you're going to make in a business, or like we're saying here, a pool, I'm just taking it as a business. When you're looking at it as a business, you always look at see what your whole card is. If you don't even know if you've got a whole card, maybe the county attorney could tell us on the language that's with the carousel. Can we do our concession stand, or do we share concession, or what's the contract? I mean, I know he might not have got to that yet, but I'm trying to figure out how you could figure what it's going to cost a taxpayer when you don't know how much income you got coming in or going out.
Sure. Madam Chair, Commissioner Henderson, part of what was presented to you today was essentially the $50,000 that we said that we would make would be pretty much, we're looking strictly. That's why when we talked about being very, very conservative, that was pretty much just on what the price of money that we would take in admittance into the pool, until we really hashed out that area. So that's why when we talked about the concession area, within the lease, we'd have to look through that language and meet with the carousel, because there have been some changes just since that lease has been signed of what they've added kind of to their building and what their expectation is. Because as I talked to them, they're building it essentially as a standalone building, knowing that they'll be operating that for almost 2 years before we're ready to go. If we pass a bond issue to build a pool, waiting for us to build a concession stand, I think would not benefit the carousel at this time. So I can't answer for them, but that's kind of where we're at.
And I'll add too, being on the carousel board, that this is, we're just now listening to another potential project, and that may or may not pass by the voters. And I know the carousel board has always thought all along that they want to be an autonomous standalone business, and it'll be year round, which of course the swimming pool would not. And because of that, we made sure that the existing lease allowed us to have our own concessions, bathrooms, and, be pretty much a standalone business. Of course, we would love to have the pool as a partner at some time down the road, but it hasn't even gotten that far. So in order to even build the building and have a potential future between now and if the pool does go through, that's the way it's been set up. And it's open-ended, like JP said, it's open-ended, that it could change to make it more of a partnership in admissions, concessions, but I think pretty much now it's all going to be separate. So, does that answer your question, Dennis, for now?
For now.
Okay. Any other questions for JP? Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, JP. It looks like a great proposal to me to put to the voters. I mean, this is the point we wanted to get at. We don't have 2 or 3 options now to pick from. I think you've done a great job to put a proposal together that we can present to the people and let them make a decision. And I think the sooner we can get that together, as you did here, the better off we are, because we had 3 proposals, then we had 2, and then we were changing. It looks to me like a great proposal to put to the voters and let them make a decision. And I know that it's probably not popular with everyone, but it's going to be popular with a lot of people. And it looks like a great proposal. I think it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess this question's for the county attorney. If they're going to try for the June ballot, what is the deadline? Is February, middle of February? Have the language submitted by?
County Attorney Joyce?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Palmer, yeah, I believe so. I think it's
March 13th, I think was.
Yeah, March 13th is what they've calculated. But there is a statutory time frame that you have to have it.
So I guess
Follow-up?
a
Commissioner Palmer?
follow-up for JP. Is that the intent, is to get it on the June ballot?
That is I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Commissioner Palmer, that is the intent, to get it on the June primary. That we have looked at what the deadlines and our timelines that we need to meet going forward. And so it is our intent to have this in front of the voters on the June primary.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Commissioner Foley?
Thank you. Thank you, JP, for doing the work here. I know that's tough stepping in and trying to move this project forward. Just a couple questions you mentioned, which I'm happy to see, because I know there was a lot of people concerning the deep section. My eyes are bad, so I can't tell exactly how large that section is. I was asking, how large is that?
It's approximately 133 feet wide. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Commissioner Foley. It's approximately 133 feet wide, and we widen that area for diving purposes and then also to offer lap swimming. It's not quite 25 meters when we look at that. We're not adding a competitive pool, and I know that was one of the things that people were asking about. Again, when talking with the other facilities around the state, the 50-meter pools, the 25-meter pools, they're high maintenance costs. We were trying to put together a pool that kind of fit everybody's needs. Also, we want to work with the YMCA. They have a competitive pool. We don't want to take away from what they offer to the public. We want to work together with them as well. And so that was decided that way. But we can definitely have lap swimming in there. We can have different activities that fit into that need.
Follow-up, Commissioner Foley?
Speaking of the YMCA, you mentioned that your intention would, if this were to pass, we run this Butte-Silver Bowl, not YMCA like it had in the past, where we contracted out for them to run that. Is there any consideration of that? You mentioned about them having a lot of expertise in terms of lifeguards and so on and that.
Currently, I have not met with, I'm sorry, Commissioner Foley, in response to that. We have not met with the YMCA. We've had a couple phone messages gone back and forth with Phil Borup from the YMCA, but it is the intent that we work together with them. But from my perspective and what I would like to see, I would like this to be ran by Butte-Silver Bow. Work together with the YMCA in partnership with. I think that we can add an amenity that will work together with the Y and add real value to both facilities.
Thank you.
Commissioner Padu-Dolan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, JP. This was a great presentation and very informative, especially with the numbers. I have a question with regard to a couple questions. One, do you think this is far enough away from what the taxpayers voted down originally that we can confidently give this to them to vote on as a project independent of what was drafted before?
JP?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Padu-Dolan, as we went forward, I think, some of it, Fran Dorn and her committee in the past did a great job of presenting the pool issue and the bond issue that went forward before. As we all know, construction costs go up. And so there's probably added costs now to what they proposed at that time. And so I do believe it's a good proposal to put forward to the voters. I think the longer we wait, the higher these costs are going to go up. We made sure as we put this together that we kept some things independent, and this is not criticizing the old committee because they did a fantastic job and did a lot of legwork and hours put in. But we made this independent of any other additions of tennis courts, golf course, anything of that nature. We wanted to make this is a pool bond issue. We were looking at that. We wanted to make sure that we added the O&M costs along with this so that so everyone could see what the true costs are going to be if we build this pool, what the people are going to be paying on their tax dollars, but also what they're going to get out of this.
Follow up, Commissioner Padu-Dolan.
Thanks. Did you figure out where beyond the $8.7 million for just the costs of building the pool or the facility, then where is the money going to come from for the $350,000 for the annual operating costs?
JP?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Padu-Dolan, that is built in as we showed on there that we're looking at that $350,000 annual cost that was added into the estimated annual tax that we had in there. So when we looked at that $100,000 bond or the $100,000 house, it was $14.37 for the capital debt service. But we also added in, and it was in the presentation of what the operating and maintenance costs, which was $7.86, which gave us, so that was part of that presentation as you looked at it, and gave the total estimated cost of both the capital and the operating expenses of $22.33. So that was both of those together.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. So folks will be able to pay for both. They'll pay for both.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Henderson?
Madam Chair, JP, I totally agree with you, that Butte needs a pool. I think what's important though is there any chance, and have you looked into it yourself, not from previous people, where you could build a basic pool and see how it does? A pool, whatever, sort of like our other pool, similar. Basic, cut the cost tremendously, and from that point, as money is brought in, could get the different amenities after that. Did you look into that very much, or?
JP?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Henderson, we did look at that, and we talked to a lot of different facilities, including Bozeman, who has just a kind of a pool that we had before. They do have high volume at those places. The thing that everyone has stated to us, the operating costs of having just a pool are as high or higher than what we're proposing here. Also, it does not keep the people, it doesn't attract the number of people, the family from age 0 to the retired person in our community. It doesn't offer a lot of the therapeutic benefits that some of the things that we do have. It definitely has huge teenage drop-off when you do not have the slides and the different things that are added into ours. So I spoke to many different towns and cities that have pools in North Dakota, Montana. I talked to a lot of different people as I went back to the director school, and they, when you sent me back there in the first few weeks of being the director here in Butte-Silver Bow, it was on my mind. What do we need here in Butte? What works in your communities? And I talked to them. Standalone facilities that are just a pool generally do not attract as many people to that, and it doesn't keep the people at the pools.
Thank you.
And then I guess one other thing to add, as we look at it, you talk about the substantial cost difference. It is about $1.5 million difference between what we're asking for or a pool just to be built back as is. So all those other costs we still would have to deal with the structure itself, the dewatering issues, all of those things that are going to be part of it no matter what. The cost of just building a pool by itself is about $1.5 million difference.
Thank you.
Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is Danette still in the audience? Danette, I just want to clarify a couple of things with the financials. So we're going to have a bond issue for the $8.7 million. And then on top of that, you're going to have the $350,000 annual expense. So that's going to have to go through the budget cycle, right? Or how would you fund that?
Danette?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Morgan, right now the way, and it goes back to, I think, a little bit of Commissioner Purdue Dolan's questions too, the way that the ballot issue currently, or the way we're recommending to you that the ballot issue be proposed, that it be proposed for the capital cost of $8.7 million and up to 6 mils of operating cost as well, so that the voters know what the operating costs are, and it's all transparent to them. They understand the costs, and that we're voting it on above our current cap, so that every year we can continue to fund those operating costs.
Thank you for that. And I guess that's what I was thinking it was, or what you guys said. But I remember last time we went through this, we were told we couldn't include the operating cost in the bond issue. So the bond ballot issue. So we might have to check into that. That's what we were told before.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Morgan, I'm not sure. We had some discussions preliminarily about this. Again, we will definitely go back and check. But you can't roll the operating costs for 20 years into 8.7 and issue bonds for it. So your bond, we would have to multiply the operating costs of $350,000 times 20 and add that to your 8.7 and bond for your operating costs. We're not bonding for operating costs. All we're doing is telling the voters that it's going to cost up to 6 mils for operating costs, and we're asking them to approve those mills to be levied against them for operating costs. No different than if the mosquito district came before you and said, we're going to ask for 5 mils instead of 1.5 mils for operating costs. So we're not rolling the operating costs into the bond issue. You can't do that. I'm sure that might have been definitely a no answer back when you were doing the previous bond issue. But you can always dictate mills. So I guess we'd have to ask for the county attorney's clarification. But
Thank you. Yeah, follow up for Commissioner Morgan.
And the public can dictate the mills?
They can vote the mills upon themselves. So they can vote mills, operating mills to themselves on and above the cap that we have. So they can vote the mills. They can approve mills to be voted upon.
And that would be in the bond.
Right. And so they'd be voting for that right in the ballot measure themselves. Not rolled into the bond. Right. Because there are some bond issues that you have out there. I think a little bit of some of the archives bond issue, just, again, I wasn't here when those were all issued, but I think there was some operating costs because of the type of the bond issue the archives was and stuff, that they were rolling some contract costs in there for elevators or something. This is different. We can't roll those operating costs into the bond and say we want a bond for whatever it is, another $3 million or something on top of the 8.7 to cover it. We're going to cover it through tax revenue, but the voters are going to apply those mills on top.
Right. And County Attorney Joyce, just to clarify, do we need to have a petition? Tell me the process that goes now between now and when we present the final data to our clerk and recorder's office and it's put on the ballot, or it becomes before us to vote to even put it on the ballot, I believe. So the council will vote to put it on. And between this time and that, I just wondered what has to occur.
Madam Chair, yeah, the council would have to approve a resolution to put it on the ballot. Another way to do it is for voters to gather enough signatures to have a petition to place it on the ballot. But the council will have to pass a resolution to get it placed on the ballot.
And that resolution would come from Parks and Recs Department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you, JP. It's fun to, excuse me. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. JP, I understand where you're going with it and everything, and I like the idea and everything, but I was talking to a constituent of mine earlier today, and he liked the idea of a pool too, but he was wondering if you guys had looked into the possibility of the pool size. He was talking about when they originally were working with the Y, that there was going to be 6 lanes. They increased it to 8 so they could have the competitions and swim meets. And he was wondering if we could do something similar with the outdoor pool to have competitive meets here that took place during the summer. During the summer, they always want to have them outdoor facilities versus an indoor facility, so it wouldn't be directly competing with the YMCA, but the revenue, he said, brought into the community for such projects is upward of $1 million per event in a lot of cases for these larger swim meets and stuff during the summer. So I was wondering if that was at all a possibility or something that was looked into.
JP?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Anderson, we did look at that option and took it into heavy consideration. And again, consulting with other facilities, at looking at what we could build, the cost of adding a 50 meter. If you added a 50 meter, with what we're building here and what we're looking at to add for what the community asked for, that would essentially have to be a standalone 50 meter pool in addition to what we're looking at right here, which would add substantial cost to this, which I think would become cost prohibitive and really tax prohibitive against what we're looking at.
A quick follow-up. So there's no way to really tie that into the existing pool, like in the deep area. You couldn't extend it out another 20, 30, another 10, 15 feet, saying it's 30 to get to the regulation size. That's not a possibility for the competitions.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Anderson, we would have to extend that 25 more meters. We're not even to 25 meters currently. So adding 25 more meters to the addition of that and the footprint that this would entail on what we have currently would be a substantial increase in the costs of building this pool.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I would feel a little bit bad for him, so thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks again, JP. And it's kind of fun to talk about swimming pools in January. So
Absolutely.
appreciate that very much. And we will look forward to the next stage of this process. Okay, moving along to section 3, public hearing, communication number 16-7. Gary Keeler, manager, Butte-Silver Bow Transit, requesting council's authorization for a public hearing on January 13th, 2016 to give an annual update on Butte-Silver Bow paratransit plan. Gary Keeler, you've been patiently waiting in the back row.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of council. I don't know where that Karen East is. I don't know how he ended up behind those two. But anyway, I guess she's not around to complain to anymore, huh? So, no, but the purpose of the public hearing tonight is to update the council. It's an annual requirement because we receive federal funding to operate our transit system. To update the council is how our transit services are doing as it relates to the American with Disabilities Act that was passed in 1990. The act provides that Butte-Silver Bow, since we receive federal funding, provide transportation to people with disabilities that is equal to people that are not disabled. So that's why we have they call it a complimentary paratransit service. So that's a door-to-door service, 24-hour advance notification to get a ride. Sometimes in extreme emergencies, we'll get a client, and if there's space available, we'll give them a same-day service. Butte-Silver Bow has to meet, we've been operating the service directly now for 1.5 years, and I think we're, doing an excellent job. The drivers have been outstanding. Our dispatch, we've got it down pretty good. We've had some problems, like any service. We gave last year in 2015, we gave 10,648 rides compared with 10,899 our first year of operation. So pretty much the same, but it was a 2% decrease. We are meeting the federal regulations. We have to meet response time, fares, hours of operations, and days of service, and we remain in compliance. We have been since 1995. In addition to the hearing tonight, we partner with a lot of our social service agencies, St. James Community Hospital, a huge number of clients from the dialysis center on Harrison Avenue, Montana Independent Living Project, and many various agencies send us referrals for people with disabilities that really need this service. And it's a wonderful service it grants independence to a lot of people that couldn't get around town. So it's a great program. So that concludes my comments, and thank you for the time.
Any questions from the council members to Gary Keeler and this project?
Thank you.
I will open up the public hearing. Again, I will begin with proponents through this giving the annual update. Any proponents? I want to speak in favor of that. And second call for proponents, third call, and final call for proponents. Seeing none, I would open up any opponents. Anybody opposed to the annual report? Second call for opponents, third and last call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing, and thanks again, Gary, for your update. Keep up the good work. Keep those folks a-rolling, huh? Thanks. All right, now, at this point in our meeting, we open up for any public comment on any items that are on tonight's agenda, and the following items that are coming before us this evening. Public comment on any items on tonight's agenda. Happy New Year, Ed.
Auditor Banner of 2601 Grand Avenue, Butte, Montana. I know some people think we ought to wait till the public hearing comes around. Reference section 2, presentation communication 16-1, presentation regarding the Stodden Park pool, conceptual design and cost analysis. I would like to clarify that I do not oppose projects that bring jobs and improve our Greater Butte-Silver Bowl community. But I do question the legality of the procedure that is being used to determine the Stodmark pool. Public forums are good. Public participation in the decision-making process is better. The what and the where are policy decisions. And the Butte-Silver City County Charter stipulates that this council of commissioners shall determine policy. Furthermore, that same Butte-Silver City County Charter mandates that this council of commissioners is to authorize community councils to advise this council of commissioners. I think they've done a great job of doing the research necessary. But therefore, any consideration and/or decision made by this council of commissioners is most probably not legal until the community council provision of the city county charter is fulfilled. Thank you.
Good. Any further public comment on any item that's on tonight's agenda?
Joe Casagrande, 3212 Harvard. I just wanted to take the opportunity to speak to you guys on three things. To thank you for taking 4-H seriously, to add my support to horticulture in Butte-Silver Bow, and to explain my Dillon outreach. Thank you for helping me understand if 4-H is again a healthy county program for my son, and to be assured by you that 4-H in Butte-Silver Bow will be as good or better than it was in the past. As a parent of a 4-H member and a 4-H volunteer, I'm putting 100% trust in you to take your lead as to whether or not 4-H is back on track. Given you are confident 4-H is good to go, then please know it comes with my support for the horticultural piece of the Extension Office. My focus has been 4-H and an expectation that our tax dollars fund a well-managed Extension Office. And so I reluctantly have not taken the opportunity to speak on behalf of the good things I have heard and seen Kelly do with horticulture, simply because 4-H was my priority. If 4-H is deemed good to go, then with this positive signal from you, I volunteer to personally address a weed problem in the large area next to the new fishing pond, under Kelly's direction. I walk my dog in that very large area, and as a sign of appreciation to whoever owns the property, I regularly pick up trash. For years, I have thought about trying to further help with weeds, but quite frankly, I've only thought and not acted. This seems like a great opportunity to act and not just talk, because that's what I expected from you, and especially from MSU in ensuring 4-H is healthy again. And this also gives me a few months before the spring when weeds can be addressed to trust but verify that 4-H is truly working again for Butte-Silver Bow. And finally, I pay taxes in Beaverhead County also, and over the last month, came to understand Dillon is also experiencing changes in their extension office. I personally don't know if the issues are good, bad, or ugly, but I have volunteered to keep people in Dillon in the loop. And with what I'm seeing, hearing, and experiencing with the Butte Extension Office, and encourage them to actually listen to this meeting tonight. So thank you all again for helping with 4-H. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other comment on any item on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, last call for that. Move along to section 1. This actually should be 4, but we'll just go with the numbers that are on here. Section 1, petition number 14-3, Michael A. Nation, building official, Building Codes Department, requesting council's authorization for a petition to close and vacate that portion of Eagle Street located in the Northern Pacific Addition, adjacent to Lot 11 in Block 20. If you notice the first 3 items here, I have taken out of our suspense file. This is about 18 months old, but it has been sitting there for good reason. I asked Mike or John Sesso to please speak on this. They seem, John especially has the most information to add. We had a nice chat today about it, so I have asked him if he could just give us a little update, and we'll go forward from there. John,
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. I really don't have an update. It's been in the suspense file. Mr. Hardesty approached Butte-Silver Bow to vacate Eagle Street, which is the old road that used to be from Hancock to Continental. Part of the road was vacated to make way for his development on Continental Drive. Turned out real well. Then he came and he wanted to vacate the remainder of Eagle Street from the back of his building from the alley behind his building to Hancock Street. And when we started the process, he paid his $500 and we started the process. It came to our attention that Mr. Hardesty had not fulfilled his obligation of his development to improve Fairmont Street, which is the road south of his development. The condition provides that he has to improve Fairmont Street from Continental to at least past his driveway. If you can remember his development there, he has a approach off of the platted but undeveloped Fairmont Street that then goes to Continental. He hadn't completed that, and we thought it was prudent with your input to not be approving any vacation of additional streets in favor of Mr. Hardesty until he took care of the business there. Well, then the next thing we received was some considerable input from the residents on Fairmont Street to the west and Hancock Street in terms of stormwater improvements that would be needed before any road improvements would be done. And we have tried without any luck to try to get property owners in the area to sort of come together and create a little special improvement district to deal with some of the drainage problems. As you all know, there are no storm drainage facilities in that area. Butte-Silver Bow and our public works, and you guys have not got the resources to fix all of our problems, so we turn to special improvement districts when certain neighborhoods want to improve the infrastructure of their adjoining property. So we were in a stalemate, and that led to the vacation of Eagle Street to be put in the suspense file until we were able to resolve that stalemate. The only real development that has occurred since is Habitat for Humanity, as you know, building some houses on Hancock Street behind the Hardesty development. They have one, and there's going to be a fourplex, and so they own now the half of Eagle Street, or excuse me, they're an adjoining property owner to the north half of Eagle Street, whereas Mr. Hardesty was the sole owner because he sold the property to Habitat for their construction of their homes. So that is a development. So if we moved forward with the vacation at some point in the future, that they would be a co-applicant. They would get half of the street, and Mr. Hardesty would get the half on the south. I really don't have a recommendation. I don't know what to do. I guess option A is to just put it back in the suspense file till something materializes. Option B is to, leave it in the committee of the whole, see if anything develops over the course of the next month or so. And option C is to, deny the request for the vacation. And I would just ask if you choose option C that you refund the guy's $500 because he didn't get all the way through the process. And then when and if he wants to come forward next time, he can reapply with his partner now, who he sold the other side of Eagle Street to. Madam Chair.
Thank you, John. And this is in John Sorch's district, and he's not here this evening. I did talk with him briefly today. And also John Sesso and I discussed the idea of maybe pulling the players together, the Hardesty, it's Mr. Hardesty and Mr. Cecil, possibly the road department, in particular our road engineer. I know this is expanded into a little bigger can of worms, I guess you'd say, since 18 months ago, and also with John. Maybe we can come to some conclusions. Maybe an SID would be the best way to go, since there are other areas that are being developed that weren't there before. So I'm just going to let the council decide what we should do. I mean, I haven't heard from Mr. Hardesty. It has been sitting there for 18 months, since August of 2014. And I think that maybe now is the time to maybe start moving forward in some direction. I don't know what the pleasure of the council might be. Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, John. I guess option D would be to concur and place on file. Would that be an option?
Well,
Either note and place on file or concur and place on file. It's been here since August 21st of 2014. I think a decision should be made. I don't know who's at fault here, but to me, this is an unacceptable practice that now they're into 2016, that we had a request setting here for 2 years. I mean, I don't know where the blame falls or what happens, but I just think we got to do one of two things. We either note a place on file or concur and place on file. I don't think there's any other options between A and D. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, I don't think that there's any blame here. This particular request for the closure of Eagle Street is, sort of a collateral issue relative to the problems we have on Fairmont. I don't think you can, I have to look at the file. I don't think you can concur and place on file because we haven't gone through the public hearing associated with the closure process yet. So you can't do that. But if you want to deny it and direct the department to refund the money and just put it on file so it's gone for the time being, and then we'll start over when and if there is an opportunity or a request to do so, then we can take it that way.
Commissioner Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was in Public Works. It was referred to Public Works, and it was held up because of the earlier conditions that weren't met. And they were working with Mr. Hardesty to see if he could get the problem taken care of. But it was taking quite a while, so they put it in the suspense file. And once things get put in the suspense file, then they sort of get lost until they're looked at the end of the year. And then, but I think, there is a problem down there. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to look at it and work with everyone involved to see if it can be handled at this time. So I would move that we refer this back to the Public Works Committee to work with the Public Works Department and see if something can be handled. And if it's not done in a short period of time, then we can move on from there.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to refer petition number 14-3 back to the Public Works Committee and form a roundtable, possibly with the departments we just suggested, and of course, Mr. Sorich being his district. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate your input on that. Section 2, Communication 14-592. Dave Palmer, Butte-Silver Bow Commissioner, District 12, requesting council's consideration to expand the no-shoot boundary within Butte-Silver Bow. Dave.
This was put in the suspense file because we were waiting to see how it worked out. And I thought it was going along all right and working out itself, but I received another call a couple of weeks ago about another problem. So I would ask that we just continue to hold this in abeyance for a couple more weeks until I can talk to the people
In the
involved.
committee of the whole.
In the committee of the whole. Mhm.
Okay. You want to just continue holding it where it is? There's no need for a motion. All right, we will do that. Continue to hold that committee of the whole. Thank you, Dave. Section 3, communication number 15-264, Francis P. McGee, 125 West Granite Street, Butte, Montana, requesting council work with the residents in the Clarks Park area to enforce noise restrictions, prohibitions against fall from the park, and enforce the 10 p.m. closure time. Commissioner Brendan McDonough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this has been on the agenda for like 8 months, and we've had several discussions with neighbors, and I did talk with Frank McGee earlier. I did call Frank. Frank has been in the hospital. He did call me back this afternoon. I missed it. However, I did have about a 45-minute conversation with Scott Larson, who asked Frank McGee to put the communication forward. There are 2 petitions in front of us. One was for FALF and the other one was for noise restrictions. Of course, we've been down the road of noise ordinances that have been denied for obvious reasons of, how do you enforce it? I did talk to Scott. Scott is concerned that noise on Wall Street is a problem, and especially at his house. I did arrange a meeting this afternoon with Dave Schultz to discuss maybe again looking at the ordinance in the communication sent forth by Frank McGee. He did cite 2 references of municipal code, which one is a landscape buffer for a commercial development, which doesn't apply to Clark Park. So I did point that out to Scott. We did discuss it at great length. I did meet with some of the neighbors, or I've discussed the issue over the several months with neighbors. I'd need to go back and have more discussions with the neighbors, but I think that with the broad nature of the communication, and I indicated to Scott that we would probably clear it from the agenda and revisit the noise issue. So at this time, I will make a motion to note communication 15-264 and place it on file.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Brennan. We have a motion and a second to note communication 15-264 and place it on file. On the question, I just had a question, and just Brennan, you might have already said this, but so this is still an ongoing thing that you will be looking into. I know there's 18 people that signed those petitions, not just Scott, and I just wanted to know if that was clarified. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. I will still be discussing the issues with the neighborhood. We have issues that, in regards to Clark Park, that are an ongoing concern, but don't necessarily have anything to do with fall or noise at the splash pad. We have issues with the Butte Community Ice Center there with idling buses and diesel that the neighbors aren't happy with. They're not happy with the parking. They're not happy with the snow on the street, which has forced other people that attend events at the ice center to park in front of their residence. And the bigger issue, or the broader issue, seems to be that we had an issue of loitering and vandalism that was being placed upon or directed towards Falfing, which some folks came to Falf, but it was a broader issue. We've talked that the law enforcement has stepped up the patrols. They're in the area. They're addressing those issues. I've explained the right-of-way to some of the neighbors that have called. We did have the gazebo moved that was being vandalized on a frequent basis. It's been since removed from Clark Park, thanks to JP and Dave Schultz. So yes, we will continue to address those concerns moving forward, but at this time, I'd still like to note and place this communication on file.
Thank you. Anything further on the question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Section 4, let's see through my chicken scratcher. Communication 15-356, Kenneth and Michelle Palmer, 936 Relda Street, Butte, requesting council's authorization to purchase county-owned property under the adjacent landowner policy. I attended the land sales committee today. This item and one other one further down on our agenda were talked about. As the Palmers brought this to our attention as an adjacent owner, it brought up other issues where we needed to have a survey done of the property, and we will parcel out a portion of that to the Palmers, but we're still in the middle of getting that survey done, so we'll continue to hold that in abeyance. Section 5, Communication 15-395, John P. Morgan, Butte-Silver Commissioner, District 3, requesting a review of possibly placing a left turn arrow at the intersection of Montana Street and Front and Centennial while heading north. Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did contact Mr. Sanford with Public Works, and as we were told before, the state will be conducting a traffic study at this location in the springtime. So I guess for right now, we would move back into the suspense file till probably April, I would say. So I'll make a motion that we move communication 15395 into the suspense file until April of 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move communication 15-395 into the suspense file for 3 months, was it, John? Or,
Yeah, till April.
okay, till April. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I guess,
Hopefully we have spring.
yeah, if I say spring, it could be July, so. Thank you.
Right.
Section 6, Communication 15-470, Dave Palmer, Butte-Silver Bow Commissioner, District 12, requesting a crosswalk installed on Center Street, speed zone signs to be installed on Center Street, a tree on the corner of Buffalo and Main Streets to be trimmed, and review of the alarm at the fire station. Commissioner Palmer.
This is being held in abeyance until they have the neighborhood meeting up there, which is probably going to take place pretty soon. So just continue to hold us in abeyance.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay. Section 7, Communication number 15-490, Karen Burns, Director, Butte-Silver Bow Community Development Department, requesting council's recommendation to approve council communication 15-460, which has been cross-referenced with the one we're on. Request from Blaine Brown to purchase city-county property under the adjacent landowner policy. Similar to the other one, I did go to the Land Sales Committee meeting today, and they are also waiting to, they had a survey, but they're making some adjustments. So we will continue to hold that in advance. Section 8, Communication number 15-498, Jeffrey L. Miller, Director, Butte-Silver Bow Fire Services, requesting council's authorization to hold a public hearing on November 18th, 2015 regarding the proposed sole source purchase of 20 self-contained breathing apparatus for the Butte-Silver Bow Fire Department. We did have that public hearing, so Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'll make a motion that we place communication 15-498 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 15-498 on file. Is there anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Section 9, communication number 15-525, Kelly Anderson, Extension Agent, Butte-Silver Bow Extension Office, requesting council's authorization for the chief executive to sign an agreement with Montana State University Extension Office. As you know, Commissioner Fisher asked to have this held out in abeyance until we had a meeting with the group. We had the 4-H group and ourselves and some of the state officials. So I will call on Commissioner Fisher to update us on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met here the other day, Monday afternoon. I think there was 18 or 20 people there, a couple people from the 4-H, I guess you call it the national office or whatever, local MSU extension office. And we did do quite a bit of conversing about things, and both parties have agreed to mediate this and visit and try to get things worked out. It is a work in progress. But the actual contract with the Montana State University Extension Office and the 4-H really don't hold water hand in hand. I mean, they're two separate things. So with all hope, the 4-H and the county extension, MSU extension are all going to get their things worked out. There's a lot of positive things going on, and the reset button has been set more or less. So at this time, I would make a motion to concur and place on file communication 15-525.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur with communication number 15-525 and place this on file. Is there anything further on the question? Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that this worked the way the process should. We had some constituents out there that were upset with what was going on. They brought it before this body, expected us to take some action. Commissioner Fisher, Commissioner Shaw for attending that meeting. That showed the process works. I know the extension agency, they're working towards it. So for everybody involved, thank you for doing that. That worked out well. So congratulations.
Anything further on the question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Section 10, communication 15-537, Karen Burns, Director, Butte-Silver Bow Community Development Department, requesting council's authorization for presentation on December 23rd, 2015 regarding the Butte Economic Gardening Project. We did have that presentation, so Commissioner Morgan.
They held it, didn't they? Do we have it?
Madam Chair, I don't believe we've had
Oh.
that presentation.
They postponed
Oh, I'm
Tell
sorry.
the-
We postponed that.
it tonight.
No, not till tonight.
Missed it.
So continue to hold that one in abeyance.
All right. We don't have a set date for that, huh? All right.
I thought we did, but
Thought we did too. Okay. Well, anyway,
January 13th.
we will hold that in abeyance. Apologize for that miscommunication. So, all right. I'll have to talk to Karen. She's not out here tonight. Section 11, communication number 15-558, Lori Casey, Assistant Planning Director, Butte-Silver Planning Board, Planning Department, requesting a public hearing on January 13th, 2016 for the preliminary plat of the Copper Fox Estates. Commissioner Morgan.
thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion that we place communication 15-558 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 15-558 on file. Is there anything on the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Section 12, communication number 16-7, Gary Keeler, Manager, Butte-Silver Transit, requesting council's authorization for a public hearing on January 13th, 2016, to give an annual update on Butte-Silver's paratransit plan. Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will make a motion that we place communication number 16-7 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 16-7 on file. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Section 13, communication number 16-8, Pat Mundy, Maewa Society, requesting council's authorization for street closures to conduct the 2016 Chinese New Year Parade and receive a fee exemption. We are waiting on pending on verification of liability insurance. The event doesn't incur until February, so I think we're safe, and we'll just hold this in advance until we get that information. Section 14, communication number 16-10, Patsy Coates, Property Specialist, BSB Land Records, requesting council approve the tax deed sale public auction to be held on February 17th, 2016, and ask the county attorney to prepare a council resolution for approving the sale of certain parcels of the tax deed of real properties owned by Butte-Silver. We will wait and hold that in advance until February 17th. And at this time is an opportunity for anyone to make a public comment on any public matter that did not appear on tonight's agenda. Seeing none? It's laughing. No? Okay. That's it for this evening. Anything else to come before us tonight? Forward to seeing our results after our applications and review of things on Friday. So at this time, I would move to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor? Aye.